All right, how we going there, guys? Welcome to Talking Boxing. It is Monday, April 29th, 2024, and you'll notice a couple of things tonight. One, the intro, I apologise. I'm in, as you can see here, a new studio. I've gone away from the traditional green screen that I've done in the last, since day dot. And we've got a new little studio here, so thank you to my lovely wife Tara, who's done all of this. I've got studio lights, I've got new carpet, I've got a new desk, I've got everything going on, but I forgot to transfer the the video intro to the new computer, so I couldn't get it uploaded in time. So I'm really sorry about that. It's only a little thing, I suppose, isn't it? But welcome to the show. As I said, it's April 29th, 2024. Hope you can see and hear me okay. As I said, I've gone away from what I've done since day dot and in my new surroundings here. So we'll get to some viewers in the chat there. We've got some Kilduck 123. We've got Damien Rochester. We've got Asbot, Peter Nutt, Victor J, just to name a few. So I'm going to go through all the comments there, guys. If you haven't been on here before, it's pretty simple. Put your question in the chat, direct it obviously at me, and I'm sure everyone else will give you their 2 cents as well. And for the next couple of hours or whatever it is, let's talk some boxing. So let's get into it for starters. Let's start with St Kilda 123. If I can get that on the screen. There we go. I'm happy Virgil had another one rounder. He hasn't been tested for the war that is about to happen. Yeah, obviously he had the knockout on the weekend. Again, 1 round. So what's he had? 2 fights in the last year or two? Might even be longer. And 2 first-round knockouts. So I'm not quite sure how that prepares you for a fighter of the calibre of Tim Tszyu. We know Tim Tszyu's been very active and had a lot of rounds under his belt. I'm not quite sure whether Ortiz is going to be able to go with Tim, but the main thing is he's gotten through it. You read a lot of the overseas sites, a lot of the Americans especially, see this is the big fight for Tim. Obviously the Fundora fight was there as well, but Virgil Ortiz is a fan favourite, and this is the fight for Tim where if he gets this win in August, then he's going to be a superstar all over the place. And the card itself, I'll put in the Instagram today. Is this the biggest card ever? I strongly disagree with those that are saying it, and when I get a chance, I'm going to go to some evidence and we can have a chat about it as well. But let's go to Damien Rochester. How are you, Damien? Welcome to the show. So glad I found this fellow Victorians channel during the last Nikita Tszyu fight last week. Keep up the great work. No, I really appreciate that, Damon. Well, it's amazing. They say sometimes you just need one video to sort of set you off. And we've always had okay numbers. Look, I've never got into this, to be a YouTube superstar or whatever. I just love getting on here and talking boxing with everyone else. And but last week doing that Nikita Tszyu fight, it was almost like, I've got no doubt that people obviously jumped on thinking it was an actual watch along where they could see the fights themselves, and the amount of times I had to say to people, no, go off and find somewhere else. But we had over 15,000 views for that clip or the video, whatever it was, the live. Nearly, was it 4 hours and 45 minutes or something what it was. But anyway, it was great fun, and we're going to do it this weekend as well, while I remember, for the Canelo Alvarez and Jaime Munguia fight. That'll start at lunchtime on Sunday, so check it out. But yeah, I am a fellow Victorian there, Damien. Not quite sure what footy team you go for, mate, but if you go for the Blues, even better. Alright, Asbot, how you going there, mate? Apparently, according to Eddie Hearn, the Saudi Excellency actually wanted Tszyu versus Ortiz, which is maybe part of the reason for... Oh, what have we got there? Oh, sorry. Okay. All right. So I'm getting a message here that my mic is not real good. Let me know there, guys. I'll keep going for a minute. If it's no good, let me know. But by the sounds of things, I'm just getting a message saying it's no good. But anyway, we'll keep going for a little bit longer. Maybe part of the reason for such a hard opponent straight after Fundora. Well, apparently Tim Tszyu, or His Excellency, or the Sheik, or whatever they call him, or we call him, of course, over there they call him His Excellency, but let's just get my camera there too. A little bit fuzzy there. He apparently is a big fan of Tim Tszyu. So, look, I don't think it would have been an issue for Tim Tszyu. He would have loved to take this fight. For Virgil Ortiz, the money must be great. Let's just say that anyway. So there's Peter. Peter Nutt, what have we got there, mate? G'day, Ortiz hasn't spoken about bad about Tszyu, but American fight fans are talking about Tszyu like he's a bum. Yeah, they're a different breed, the Americans. It's almost like if you haven't, or if you're not one of them and you haven't continually proved yourself over there, then you haven't made it. So Ortiz is not fighting a taxi driver this time around. He's about to find out what levels are. 100% agree there, Peter. I think Ortiz is about to realise that just because you sign with Oscar and just because you're getting these first round knockouts, he's got some good or a good record, 21 wins, 21 knockouts, but hasn't fought anyone anywhere remotely close to Tszyu. So I'm with you there, Peter. I think he's about to find out the hard way. There's Victor. How you going there, mate? Speaking of Victor, I hate to see Tim have to go through another late opponent change. Well, he's prone to injury, Victor, so who knows? Look, if the fight goes ahead, I think it'll be absolutely awesome. It will be a really, really good fight, but I'm with you, Victor. It's a long way out, and he's got to make it to the finish line, doesn't he? Still got a couple there from Victor. Virgil's last two fights since illness, weighing at 156 and 155.6. For him to make championship weight in August without overexerting himself to avoid medical problems is worrisome. What do you think? Although I think the fact it'll be a title fight, Victor, I think he'll make the weight okay. He's only, a pound or 2 pounds? That's, what's that, a kilogram if you're here in Australia? So I'm not too concerned about that, Victor. I think the fact is with Golden Ball, they probably gave him a little bit of a leniency. So, yeah, I'm not too stressed about that, mate. I think he'll be fine. Another one for Victor. Hey, Lynden, I'm a bit confused. Is Virgil versus Tszyu for the WBA interim belt? I hate these questions. And the winner of that gets a shot at Bud versus Israel. Well, in theory, Victor, the fight will be for the WBA interim title. And, of course, Terence and Israel will be for the full belt. So, again, like the WBC belts on the Tszyu Fundora card, I don't get how the full belt's in play and the interim belt's in play on the undercard. It just doesn't make sense to me. But in a perfect world, Victor, yes, Bud and Israel or Madrimov will, the winner of that will fight the winner of Tim and Virgil. So let's hope so anyway, because then we've got Fundora Spence, which probably looks like it's going to be made. So who knows, Victor? But it's your guess is as good as mine. Oh, okay. I have a massive echo. All right. Then I will switch. Let's get rid of that microphone and I'll go to the old-fashioned one. Sorry about that, guys. There is a little bit of a lag, so I apologise if that is the case. I don't know what's happening with my microphone. Normally it works fine. So I'll get a little bit closer anyway, and hopefully I'm not too bad at the moment. Just little teething problems with the new studio. Hopefully you can hear me okay now. I'll just double check to see. All right. And if you are listening to this after the fact, apologies. It's taken me a while to see the comments and I'll have an echo. All right. I knew as soon as I'd seen it, Tussie's weaved her magic. Yeah, she's done a really a good job. Still with Jack. Also extremely nice to see the baggers back down to planet Earth this week. Yes, I think we'll move on with that. Jack, talking about the Blues, of course. Mutsy, it's a great card, but not the best ever, though. I've watched a few of Ortiz's fights. Very hittable. So is Tim. It has the makings for a barn burner. Look, on the card itself, 100% will say it is... I wouldn't even say it's a great card, Mutsy, just in my opinion. I know everyone's got different ways of leveling or, of working out the criteria for what is a great card. I just think it's a very good card. Now, if you look through the card itself, I'm just going to bring up a couple of other cards that I think more than have this one covered anyway. I think I've got it on here. Probably don't. No, you wouldn't. Geez, that's it's on my other computer, which is always the way, isn't it? Anyway, all right. I think I can remember it. But look, the main event, Crawford Madrimov, yeah, okay, it's a solid fight. But Madrimov's had 10 fights, really vastly unproven. I'm not sure that the main event, I know Terence Crawford brings a lot, but the main event for me is, okay. Tim versus Victor Ortiz is a great fight. But to break it down, take again the Aussie hat off, Tim is coming off a loss. As controversial as it was, it's still a loss. Virgil Ortiz has had 2 easy first round knockouts in the last couple of years, been very inactive, injury prone. You know what I mean? Andy Ruiz and Miller. Well, Ruiz has been out of the ring off and on, pretty spasmodically in the last probably 3 or 4 years. Probably only fought a couple of times against Big Baby Miller, who, okay, well, he got beaten by Dubois. You know what I mean? I can't remember who I haven't got it on my phone there. Sorry, guys. It's on my other computer. But so you see, it's got Andy Cruz, Olympic gold medalist, but he's had 3 fights. I know he's fighting a good opponent, but I see it as a very, very good card. I much prefer to be having a very good card, by the way, than no card at all. So don't get me wrong, but I have seen a few other shows this week, but mainly the Pro Box TV, and they stole my thunder a little bit because I had it ready to go for this show. But I remember shows back in the day where there would be 4, if not 5, big world title fights, and every one of those fights would be bigger than the main event on this card. So while I love the idea we're getting these UFC type of cards where it's stacked from top to bottom, I love it. But I just think fight fans have been so starved of half-decent cards for a long time that they forget what a really, really good card is. And if you've been around boxing for a while, you know the cards I'm talking about. Back in the day with Don King, I know he gets a bad rap, but he had the best cards ever. Consistently having Terry Norris, Julio Cesar Chavez, all these type of fighters, Mike Tyson, of course, on card after card after card, and having 4 great world title fights. And I can't believe I didn't save it to my phone, but some good examples there. So, in my opinion, very, very good card, but yeah, not a great card if you ask me, compared to some of the others in recent history. I even think the better Biev and Bivol card and the 5 versus 5 under that is better than this card. But again, beggars can't be choosers, and I love the fact that we've got card after card after card that is a lot better than what we've seen in the last few years anyway. So I'll get back on track there, mate. So very hittable. So is Tim as makes of a bum. But yeah, that fight itself should be great. And look, I think that's the fight of the night, if you ask me. I think Terence Crawford, as good as Madrimov was in his last fight, I still think Terence Crawford is 10 levels above anything that Madrimov's fought, and I think he'll win that fight quite comfortably. And I think Tim will win this fight, and the rest, okay, whoever is better on the night will win. But none of them really get the fires burning, to be honest, if you're going to ask me, Mutsy. All right. Yep, Peter, I hope I fix that now with the echo. I don't know what's going on with that. It must be this laptop, I think. I want to see Tszyu versus Crawford, and I think Tszyu can shock the world. I do too, Peter. I 100% think that Peter. That'd be good if you could do it, Peter. Tim Tszyu can beat Terence Crawford. I know a lot of people will scoff at that, whatever, but I think if at the right circumstances, Tim's, of course, got to earn that shot back now. I think if he beats Ortiz, that's the next fight. It is Crawford versus Tszyu, and we're back on track. So, still with Mutsy, seeing the Saudis have put both these fights on the same card. Surely the winners fight each other. Yeah, it does make sense, doesn't it, Mutsy? There's Bill Hack. How you going there, mate? My opinion, if Nikita Tszyu, yeah, we didn't talk about that last week, was it? Because it was actually on the Wednesday. If Nikita was my son, I strongly encourage him to retire. He gets rocked way too often. No one's head can take that trauma, especially an educated kid that can get great work anywhere. I'll be honest with you, Bill, I was concerned last week watching that fight. I think Nikita won 9 out of the 10 rounds. But that 6th round, I think it was very concerning for me, if I'm being honest. The fact that Creati has got pillows for fists and was able to rock Nikita. And it's not just the fact that he got rocked, even though he has been rocked 3, 4, even 5 times during his career. The fact that he wasn't really the Creati was done by that anyway. He was struggling and probably on the verge of being stopped at that stage, but didn't really have the ability to go after Nikita. But Nikita just lacks at this stage the ability to hold and clinch and step off to a side and waste some seconds. He tends just to put the arms out and almost tries to hug the opponent and allows him to still punch, and that's really, really concerning. And what's even more concerning is the fact that it's been 3, 4, 5 times wherever it's been, and he hasn't learned since the last one. It's been purely heart that's got him through, and maybe the inability of his opponent to really, to take advantage of that situation. So look, I hope we see him tidy things up. But to be blunt, Bill, if he can't tidy that up, a lot of fighters get rocked. There's no issue with that. It's what happens afterwards. And to be honest with you, he's fought some solid guys, but nothing anywhere near remotely resembling a world-class fighter yet. That's my worry, that when he gets there in another 4, 5, 6 fights, whatever it is, if he hasn't tied that up, those good fighters will just take him out. And we've seen it with Isaac Hardman. We've seen it with Pampalone last week as well. Not that he got taken out, but he got carved up pretty badly. As our good mate Noonan Boy always says, the levels from here to here, it is massive. And the domestic scene is one thing. Going to the world scene is another thing. And it does really concern me, Bill, that he hasn't been able to learn so far. One thing he has shown is tremendous heart. Let's not forget about that. But I am worried that he hasn't been able to hold and clinch, apart from actually being hurt in the first place. Should not have been hurt by Creative. That's just a given. And yes, he won 9 out of 10 rounds, but it doesn't matter in a 10-round fight. You're only going to lose one. So, and can you believe that the judges didn't actually give that round to Creative? Just mind-boggling. So, anyway. All right, Asbot, thank you. That's better. Sorry about that, guys. I don't know what happened with the microphone. Kyle, if Virgil can't make weight, okay, I hope Tim has Murta Zaliev as a backup for a title fight. Should have been the fight to make all along. This is dangerous. I agree with you. All those fights are dangerous, Kyle. And isn't it amazing how we look at a fighter that's coming off a loss, almost like, wow, does he want to fight this guy? Does he want to fight that guy? If Tim had have got the decision, let's face it was one judge, a couple of points either way, would we be having these concerns about Tim if he had won the fight with the Fundora? We'd be saying, well, Ortiz is next and Murta Zaliev, he's going to get it next, and come on, Crawford. It has made us just a little bit shaky, hasn't it? Just by the sake of 1 or 2 rounds in a very, very close fight. But I'm sure Tim he'll get this win. And as they say, you're only as good as your last fight or game, whatever it might be in other sports. So, excuse me, I've got no doubt that Tim will get past Ortiz in a very, very tough fight, by the way. And then he'll move on to those types of guys. But I will say I am just a tad tentative of taking such a hard fight soon after the Fundora fight. I know time-wise it'll be, 4 or 5 months. But has the cut healed? I'm sure it will. But the body's healed. But more so the psyche of a fighter. You know, he's coming off his first loss. How will he react? I've got a feeling he's going to be mean and hungry and take it out on Ortiz. But sometimes fighters can go back in the shells a little bit. Let's hope it's not the case with Tim. But yeah, it's I just can't wait to see back and to get back in there. And credit to both of these guys. I know the Sheiks or Excellency, his money, money talks, but still credit to both these guys for taking such a bloody hard fight. Peter, the open tie card is better. Yep, I'd agree with that too, Peter. And next week I'm going to put the cards up anyway. Some of the awesome cards. Actually, I won't do it now. It'll take too long. But some of the Don King cards from back in the day. Go back and check the Zuma Nelsons and Julio Cesar Chavez's and Mike Tyson's and Simon Brown's and Terry Norris and all these guys against each other. Just amazing, amazing cards. And the 4th or 5th fight on the card, I think, on most of them is better than this main event. It's just crazy. What do we got there, Asbot? Bill, don't know about retire, but I agree he's got to develop and get some defence. Yeah, I'm not going to say he's going to have to retire, Asbot. I didn't actually address that. But no, he definitely shouldn't retire. But if he's going to he's committed to this. If he's going to commit himself to going to the next level, and I fully commend the way he's been managed so far, by the way, the perfect fights at the right time. And I know a few of them have been a bit shaky. I mean, who would have thought that Ben Horn, what was it, his 3rd fight or 4th fight, would have given him the fight that he got? That would have been purely just a durable punching bag. I think they would have looked at Ben Horn as. Then Jack Brubaker, I don't think they would have expected as hard a fight with that. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. I think he'll benefit out of that. But I just think they have to maybe relook at how long it's going to take them to put Nikita in at that world level, because at the moment he's not ready. He's not ready. And I think if Glenn Jennings was on here talking about, he would say himself, "Nah, mate, look, we're 4 to 6 fights away from going anywhere near the world level, and then that's fine. So let's not judge him too harshly just yet." And I also get the impression with Nikita, he fights to the level of his opponent. And I think deep down, he probably thought Creative, we couldn't hurt him. Looked shocking in his last fight. Granted, he barely trained and whatever. But then we see him against the Benjamin Bombers of the world and the Dylan Biggses of the world, who are 2 really, really good young fighters. And he absolutely creamed both of them. So maybe that's the case, but I won't lie and say that it didn't worry me last week. The fact that a pillow-fisted fighter like Creative with limited skills was able to rock Nikita, and his inability to tie him up was, as I said, a little bit concerning. But I'm sure he'll get that right. There's Andy. How you going there, mate? Welcome to the show. Yes, like and subscribe. We are 1,180 or something like that at the moment, so that's really great. And I mean, it was off the Nikita Tszyu live last week. I think we had 250 or something signed up, so that was awesome. How many of them stick around? Well, we'll have to wait and see, won't we? What's that? The Ortiz fight is the best on the card. That's the... Oh, sorry, I missed you there, Kyle. That is the Fury and Usyk card, yeah, and obviously Breedis and Ortiz are on the undercard as well. So that's a great card. And as I said before, I still think Better Biev and Bivol and the... Who's it? Wilder and Zhang and Nick Ball and I mean, just some really good fights on there. But the fact we're just getting them one after the other, we can't be too critical, can we? Especially like this week's Canelo Munguia card, so-so. The Garcia and Haney fight, so-so. I just like the fact that they're spreading the love across the board. It probably helps that the Saudis have obviously got probably maybe 10, 15, 20% more to spend in it, or prepared to spend that amount of money more than any other promoters. So they can say, okay, well, we're going to pay the main event well, but we're also going to filter a hell of a lot of money to the undercard. And all of a sudden, you get the cards that we've got. But I like the trend that hopefully it sets, because the Matchrooms and Golden Boys and Top Ranks are going to go, okay, well, shit, the last probably couple of decades, it's all been about the main event and who cares about the undercard. And it's disappointing when you go to a big fight in Vegas or even watching on TV and the stadium's three-quarters empty until 2 rounds to go in the main support. So hopefully this will get a UFC effect where you've got fans in there right from the first bell or the first fight. So I think I've lost my way there. Where are we? All right, Jackie, how you going there, mate? Bring back the days of punches in the park. Yeah, Australia's best fight after fight. Those days are gone now. Yeah, it is, mate. And that was our sort of franchise, I suppose you could call it, the punches in the park. We did, I think we did 8 or 9 of them, the punches in the park. But tried to stack the cards, but unfortunately, Jack, you don't make any money when you stack the cards in Australia unless you're No Limit. But had a lot of fun doing it anyway. All right, Kyle. I know the only fights that intrigue me is Usyk Fury and Ortiz Breedis. That's all the card has, yeah. Peter, Tszyu was dismantling Fundora before the cut. Yeah, well, that's what probably gives us a lot of confidence, doesn't it, Peter? The fact that we know what Tim was doing before the cut happened. Now, there's no guarantees. We had 10 rounds to go, but I think we could all see that Tim Tszyu had his measure straight away. Look, razor sharp straight out of the gates. Fundora really didn't know what hit him in those first 2 rounds, and it's amazing after those 2 rounds and the cut happened that just the way the fight just turned on its head, didn't it? And Fundora, to his credit, fought the perfect fight. I thought he jabbed from a distance, so Tim really couldn't see where he was punching, and just boxed really well and did exactly what he had to do to win that fight. Good point, Peter. I think Brock could outbox Nikita. Now, that's the fight I'm looking forward to seeing. Now, I know Cole Mazzudia looks like he's going to be next. I'm a little bit ho-hum about that. I think it's a really good fight for Nikita, the perfect fight for him at the stage that he's at. But because Cole Mazzudia is not a big puncher, he's got skills, but not super skilled. He's not really going to have the skills to outbox Nikita or outpunch Nikita. Although we did say that about a few of the opponents that have rocked Nikita lately. But I don't think Cohen really poses a threat to Nikita. But Brock Jarvis, I'd love to see him fight at 154, and I hope we get to see that first. I'm sure we will, because Nikita and Mazzudia are next. But I think Brock can give Nikita a really good fight. Brock was an up-and-coming little superstar before he got knocked out by Liam Paro. How's he going to go at 154 is the big question. But I think that is the fight for me later in the year here in Australia, is Brock and Nikita. I think that will be a great, great fight. All right. What have we got? Victor, do you think we're going to see a trend in boxing with guys doing more catchweight fights or coming in overweight just to pay a penalty? It feels like we're in the belts don't matter era. Well, Ryan Garcia, Victor, has he set the trend of not worrying about belts? Now, look, to be fair here, if it does happen, Victor, and I've got no dramas if it has, I think the whole dynamic of boxing is going to change. Just like a lot of other sports have evolved over the years, boxing's been very, very slow to evolve. You look at any other sport, they've changed rules, they've changed all different things about their sports to go with the times, and boxing has been the stubborn one. So, and the sanctioning bodies, they've flooded the sport with belts. They've allowed champions to hang on to belts and hold belts to ransom, which then allows the sanctioning bodies to bring out all these weird and wonderful versions of the belts. And it's just, and the sanctioning fees they've charged on top. So I think they've got themselves to blame. So I've got no issue, to be honest with you, Victor. I am a traditionalist, but in this case, I've got no issues with fighters like, well, Ryan Garcia did say, you know what, stick your belts, stick all the sanctioning fees, all that sort of stuff. I'm here to fight for money. And we did see it with Mayweather and Pacquiao and these types of guys, and even I think some of the others didn't fight for belts towards the end. They were big enough names, they didn't have to. But if it does happen, Victor, as I said, the sanctioning bodies have only got themselves to blame. They've done this. They've just flooded the sport with belts, charged ridiculous amounts for sanctioning fees. They've treated us fans as like chumps, to borrow a phrase from old mate Big J. And if it does happen, where fighters go, you know what, we don't need these anymore. Let's pick a fighter and fight at whatever weight we agree upon. And, and we get paid, and who cares about the title? So that's the way it might go. One thing you will see, though, I think, Victor, if it does go that way, some ironclad agreements in contracts about if they don't make the weight. So you might get a Haney and Garcia, for example, who decide to fight at a catch weight of 144, 145 for no belt. Maybe they'll just make up their own belt. I don't know. They're probably worth about as much as the other belts at this stage, but they put in there that if you don't make weight, then maybe there's a rehydration clause. So in the case of last week with Garcia, okay, you were 3 pounds over. Well, now, instead of being able to be unlimited on fight night, you've got to be no more than 8 pounds over the contracted limit, or 7 pounds or 6 pounds, whatever it might be. And that kicks in, or whatever it might be. But that's what I think everyone would have learned out of the Garcia thing, that, all right, okay, if this guy doesn't care about belts, and he doesn't really care about money, he just worries about having the advantage on fight night, then I think a lot of the contracts are going to be written up a lot of different ways to protect from this. Who knows? It could be the Garcia clause, because that's what might happen. So, as I said, I wouldn't mind seeing boxing evolve a bit more, and things like what happened last week might just kick the ball along. We're seeing it with the Saudis, with what they're doing, from the sense of investing in entire cards and everything else. So, who knows? But as I said, mate, it could be the Ryan Garcia clause going forward. Any thoughts on how much Tim is getting for the Ortiz fight? A few million. Hope he's cleaning up. I would think to take that fight, as both boys are getting paid very, very well. Now, I got no idea, but let's just say that if they fought off the Saudi card, maybe they might get $2.5–3 million each. I think if that's the case, you might see them getting paid maybe up to an extra $1 million each to fight each other on these cards. So either way, these fighters deserve everything they get. So I hope that Tim and Virgil and everyone else on the card absolutely cleans up on the night. All right, there's Jules. What do we got there? Evening all. Is that Peter from Patriot Campers? Just kidding, Lynden. I think Nikita has all the skills to go overseas already, but he definitely needs the ring experience in Australia to mature. Look, Jules, I don't think there's any doubt that Nikita has the tools and the skills and the heart and everything else. But I probably have to disagree with you a little bit there, Jules. Look, to an extent, when you say he's got the skills to go overseas already, well, how deep in the overseas waters are you talking about? Now, is it just going out to the fringes of the top 15 or 20 fighters in the world and fighting some of those guys? I don't want to see him enter into legit world-class, top-ranked type of guys, mate, because as we've seen lately with some of the other prospects coming up, there are some very steep levels in this sport, and sometimes you don't know you're not at the level until you're not at the level, if that makes sense. So I think Nikita has all the skills and tools to make it, just not yet. He needs to clean up a few things, and I'm sure they're onto it. And the few times I've spoken to Glenn Jennings in interviews and just in person and everything else, he's said all along, we won't be rushed, we won't be hurried, we won't be pushed into any fights we don't want to take. We're just going to take our time and be methodical about it, like what they were with Tim. You've got to remember too with Tim, he'd been very active when he turned pro and off he went. Nikita with that 8 years out. Didn't have a lot of amateur fights. Had a few, but not a lot. So he's still a relative novice in the sport. But as far as ability goes, he's got all the ability in the world, but I just don't think he's ready for that real, maybe top 15 in the world yet. Maybe the top 20 onwards, but not the top 15, mate. We'll see soon, I suppose. But looks like he's got the 2 fights lined up next anyway, which is Mazudia and then Jarvis, which would take him to 11 fights. So I've just got the impression they'll wait till he gets to 13, 14, even 15 fights before they chuck him in with someone around the mark. And when I say around the mark, I'm talking around sort of 12 to 15. And Nikita, yeah, good call there. Nikita seems to get sucked into a brawl, but once he matures, he will have all the tools. And that's the thing, Jules. And if you watch his fights carefully, never takes a step back, never pauses, never takes a round off. It's just all or nothing, and that's the being mature or getting mature as he grows into his own skin, as they say. But even with that fight with Corradi last week, even after the 6th round when he was rocked, we saw it against Brubaker. Take a round off. You're winning every round. Take a step back and just do nothing for a round. Let them come to you. Be on the back foot. Poke some jabs out. Take the round off and then come back. But at the moment, it's just all or nothing. I'm going to take you out. And he needs to probably get away from that at the moment, Jules. But it comes with experience, and that's why he's got a great team around him. I'm sure they're working on it, but he needs to do that if he's going to take the next step, just in my opinion. Ryan Hong, how are you, Ryan? Tszyu going to stop Ortiz? Yes, I'm not going to disagree with that, mate. Let's hope so anyway. Look, I just think Ortiz is very, very dangerous early, but I think you'll see Tim box smart, not get too excited, and get him out of that 3rd, 4th, maybe 5th round, and then I think he puts it on Ryan. Ryan, I'm looking at your name. Sorry, Ryan. Puts it on Ortiz, and I think stops him 8, 9 rounds. Worst case, gets a comprehensive decision, but it will be a tough fight because Ortiz is not 21-0 for no reason. Andy agrees. Tim versus Virgil would be lit. Virgil team should have told him to put some rounds in versus Delorme as preparation for Tim. Blowing him out in 1 round seems kind of pointless. Yeah, well, it's an interesting one, Andy, because I don't necessarily think he went out there to get him out of there in 1 round. It was a beautiful left hook to the body or left rip to the body, and it just landed well and got him out of there. But, yeah, look, 2 first-round knockouts in the last couple of years, whatever it's been. It's not great preparation for someone as seasoned as what Tim Tszyu now is. So, yeah, I think, as I said, I think it'll be dangerous early, but what happens after the 4th or 5th rounds, I think, will be interesting. And that's where I think Tim puts a foot down and gets the win. Kyle, a fair few unknowns with his next Ace boxing card. Yeah, look, I haven't looked into it extensively, Kyle. I did see a few of the matchups on there, and I'll be honest with you, I didn't really recognise any of them. When is that? That's in a couple of weeks' time, I think, isn't it? So we've got a big few weeks coming up. But, look, this is going to happen, though, Kyle. One, he's giving young up-and-comers an opportunity, and, look, they might all be great fights on the night. But you can't have 10 shows through the year and just have 10 absolute bangers. We've seen No Limit really struggle with the concept. Ace Boxing is a lot more seasoned at sort of this level than what No Limit are. No Limit have done the bigger shows, but for these type of shows, I think Ace Boxing knows how to do it. They've been, Angelo's been around for a long, long time, so it's going to be hard to have great shows all year round and have the big names against each other. But I've got no dramas as long as we're getting action fights all the time and not mismatches, not journeymen fighting other journeymen, and not like we've seen a little bit lately on some other shows. So I've got no dramas as long as the fights measure up, Kyle. I'm all for it. There's Ian Davenport. How you going there, mate? Welcome to the show. Another on the Usyk Fury card is a David Nyika fight. Yeah, he's a Kiwi, of course. He's based here and think he's a guy going all the way to the top. Yeah, look, he does look the good so far, Jules, but like we saw with Pamplone last week, it's a massive jump from this level to the world level. And I gotta say, as soon as I saw Buddy McGirt in the corner was it Zinad? Was it Zilad or Zilad, whatever it was? As soon as I saw him in the corner, I thought, "Oh, this is might be a tough night for Pamplona." It's a bit like if you see Robert Garcia or Freddie Roach or someone in the corner overseas. I mean, they're great trainers. So Pamplona was good though. Proved that he's up to the level, not quite at that absolute elite level yet. But for Nikita, let's see. It definitely looks the goods, but let's see what he's got when he gets his opportunity. Andy says, shout out to Brock's old coach, Jeff Fennick. Yeah, he's been crooked, but on the man, yeah. So all the very best to, in my opinion, Australia's greatest ever fighter and a great bloke, Jeff Fennick. He has done it tough in the last couple of years, hasn't he? He had the open heart surgery in Thailand, and now he's had the open heart surgery, I think it was open heart, here. But if anyone's tough enough to get through all these, Andy, then of course it's Jeff Fennick. And I'm not sure whether he watches the show, but if he is, shout out to the legend, Jeff Fennick. Kyle, Jason Maloney on next Monday, yes. And I've got to apologise for the last probably 3 weeks, I reckon 2-3 weeks. I've had it in my reminders to give the guys a call to maybe see if they might want to come on, and I missed my chance because, of course, Jason left yesterday, I think it was, to go to Tokyo. So he is on next Monday night. So it's on Fox. I'm not sure. Is it pay-per-view, Kyle? I wouldn't have thought so. Well, knowing Fox, they might do that, but it might just be on normal TV. Let me have a look and see if it's on pay-per-view. I don't think it is. I did check that the other day. What have we got? What have we got coming up? Hang on. Sorry. So we've got Canelo Munguia this week for $70, if you will. It's on next, $50. So next Monday, 6 o'clock, $49.95. But you're going to get an awesome card. You got Inoue and Neary as the main event. You got younger Inoue on the card as well. So that's what I say. It was $50. So well spent. So get on there, support Jason Maloney. We might be able to catch up with Andy, although I think he's on in 2 weeks' time, isn't he? So anyway, we'll see. But yeah, if you weren't aware of it, look out next week, Monday night, and support Jason Maloney. His third fight, or was it third or fourth fight in a row on the road? So definitely a road warrior. Bill says, I will say Nikita does recover quickly. 1 minute after he was rocked, he looked fresh. And as you say, huge heart. Yeah, huge heart, but heart will only get you so far, Bill. You have to tidy up your flaws, or it's just going to happen time and time again. And a good fighter won't allow you to hold or whatever it might be. They'll get you out of there in quick smart. So I'm sure Nikita's onto it. His team are onto it, Igor and everyone else. But he has to work on that again, in my opinion, if he's going to step up. All right, Peter. Belt organisations and managers have destroyed the sport. I want to see the best versus the best, big money, big fights, and get rid of these belt chumps. As I said, Peter, they've only got themselves to blame if the top fighters of the world say, you know what, we don't need the belt. If anything, let's get the Ring Magazine belt more. I know it's the most probably prestigious one, arguably the most prestigious one, but it's probably the most respected one because there's no agendas, there's no favouritism, there's nothing like that. They recognise the best champion in the division. So maybe they've got to have a bit more emphasis. Maybe the Ring Magazine's got to step up and actually start putting on actual title fights instead of just recognising a fighter as the champion. So I know the belt does change hands if a fighter loses, but maybe they've got to get a bit more proactive. Make the sanctioning fees half of what the others are, or whatever it might be, a fraction of what the other organisations charge. And what will happen is, I know we don't take them seriously now, but what will happen is the fighters won't take them seriously, won't think they need it, and they'll just say, keep your belt. And all of a sudden what happens then is the belts have to pull put their standards up, pull their pants up a little bit, as they say, and get serious. Because at the moment, they just take the piss. They take the piss with us fans and with the fighters. And because no one's ever done anything like this, as far as saying, we don't want your belt, keep your belt. And the Ring Magazine steps up and says, we can fight for our belt, boys, because that is the most prestigious one. Ironclad that if you don't defend it in a certain amount of time, you're stripped. If you're injured or whatever it might be, then it's in recess, but no interims, no silvers, no regionals, none of this shit that we have at the moment. It's one belt. Maybe this is the chance for the Ring Magazine to get a bit more proactive and put these other organisations out of business. Saudi Boxing League with 0 managers, with boxers cutting out the middleman. Well, that's a good example. Hey, maybe the Saudis come up with their own belt. Who knows? They could create, and they would have the backing and the money, when you think about it, to create a UFC type of organisation. You think about it carefully. They've got the money. I mean, money is just thrown around like there's no, because there's almost like unlimited money with these guys. Imagine if they said, all right, we've dipped the toe in the water with the first heavyweight show, and then it was 2, and then it was 3, and now they're starting to put on big cards, not just big fights. Now they're starting to get away from the heavyweights and go to other divisions and have more shows more often. Who's to say they don't say, okay, we're going to create the World Boxing, I don't know, well, there is a World Boxing Union or whatever it might be. Okay, so it might be the World Boxing Championship or whatever it might be, and they put up extraordinary money. They sign up all the best fighters in the world, and then they do a UFC type of thing where they say, you're going to fight him on the next card, and you're going to fight him, and the 2 winners are going to fight on the next card, and all of a sudden, all this shit that we've put up with for so long and discussed and debated and dreaded, I suppose, in world boxing comes to an end because you've got one organisation running everything. Now, it's always fraught with danger because all of a sudden they might get greedy. Maybe they're not putting on the fights that we want them to, and all the best fighters are contracted to them, so they can't go anywhere else, and we don't. There's lots of things could happen, but so far from what we've seen, the Saudis, all they want, they haven't been corrupted by the way boxing used to work and the way it's supposed to work, quote unquote. They're doing it the way they want to do it, and so far it's been great. So it's a good call, Peter. Could we see it? Jules, forget the belts, contracts and sanctioning bodies. Where are the commissions to guarantee fighter safety? If it becomes a trend that's not safe, and surely the commissions will step in. Well, the commissions are just exactly that, Jules. They're just commissions. They don't really have a say in the way boxing's run. They pretty much just sanction the fights, of course, whether it be a title fight or whatever it might be. They sanction the event. Okay, so they make sure the promoters are all doing the right thing, and they send the officials and all that, but they don't really have any say in anything apart from that. So, yet with the safety, they just really enforce the laws and regulations and all that sort of stuff. They don't really do a lot, to be honest. But what's that? Yeah, but fighter safety, yeah. I mean, they could probably different commissions all over the place are all different to each other. So it's probably going to be hard to do a worldwide type of thing. Especially in somewhere like America with 50 states. So they're going to have 50 different sets of commissions, and it's a hard one. But I agree with you there, mate. We need to probably do a little bit more with fighter safety, which I think we are. I know there's sometimes a death here or there, and it's unfortunate. But I don't think it's anything to do with bad matchmaking or letting a fight go on too long. It's just bad luck. But I think we're doing okay in that area, Jules, at the moment. All right, back to Nikita. Nikita is nowhere near ready to take on world-class fighters. We always say levels. Yes, Peter. Nikita and Wilson, very similar fighters who don't use their brains. Yeah. Well, Liam, of course, has owned that to say that, I won't say he doesn't use his brain. Well, I suppose if he doesn't listen to instructions, that's not using his brain, is it? Nikita, I don't think Nikita is stubborn. I just think he's just got that killer mentality, and he needs to learn that you don't need to knock every opponent out. You don't need to fight 3 minutes of every round. You don't have to take center ring of every single fight and go into heat seeker mode. You just need to box when you need to box. You need to punch when you need to punch, and you need to rest when you need to rest. All these different things. You need to have gears to go, and that's one thing that Tim obviously does really well. Not comparing them too much because they are totally different personalities and fighters and everything else, but that's what he needs to learn, in my opinion, does Nikita. Liam Wilson, I don't think is as talented as Nikita is, but I think he definitely has the ability to compete at world level. But as listening to Glenn Jennings, and I'm sure if Benny Harrington was interviewed as well, he'd say the same thing, that the ability's there. We've just got to get him right upstairs where he can get back on track if he goes off track, because so far when he goes off track there's no coming back. So but yeah, so in their own ways they've got to use their brains a bit better, as you said there. There's Mutzi. Is Alex Winwood jumping in too deep, or do you reckon he can handle it? Now, who's he fighting? He's on the Danny Green card, isn't he?
put it in the chat there, Mutsy. I can't remember who he's fighting. I did see it. He's only had 3 or 4 fights, Mutsy, so I'm with you. It could be a big jump. However, the pool of fighters at the elite level of his division is very, very shallow. So maybe they're trying to fast track him. But yeah, look, it could be too deep. I haven't looked into his opponent, I'll admit, Mutsy, but I will. But I don't think, knowing Tony Tolge, he wouldn't chuck Alex Winwood in with a really, really good fighter if he wasn't ready for it. So we'll see. Jay Brown saw Nikita on a boxing show interview. He said he was meant to fight on the Wilson Valdez undercard, but Tim's date changed. Yeah, well, he was. He was over there preparing. Okay, well, he obviously, Nikita knows. I was going to say, we didn't see anything from Glenn Jennings about that, but which was only, was it 2 weeks, 3 weeks? What was it? Maybe 2 weeks later, I think it was, maybe 3 weeks. But I don't think it would have made a hell of a lot of difference. I just think he, look, let's not forget, as I said, he won 9 out of the 10 rounds, but he's just got to, tighten things up a little bit, and he'll get there. But I don't think fighting last week to fighting on the Wilson Valdez card would have made too much difference. And I suppose things worked out okay in the end. Andrew, Creative fought his best fight versus Nikita. Nikita might just surprise a few people. Yeah, no doubt that Nikita is a classy fighter, Andrew, and no doubt he's got the skills to make it. But if he can't fix the flaws we saw last week, then it's just going to be a tough road for him, and he could get exposed. But having said that, great team behind him. I'm sure they're working on it already. And like a lot of other fighters that fight good fighters like Nikita, Creati just lifted a level, grew a leg, and fought the fight of his life because he looked gone numerous times. And credit to him. I thought it was an absolute mismatch. And yes, as I said, he lost 9 out of 10, but I thought he fought a really, really good fight. And not sure what he's going to do going forward, but full credit to him and best of luck with whatever he does going forward. Victor says, if the Saudis' big show in Los Angeles, Bud Israel, is a success in America, could the Turk continue to put shows in other places in like the UK, Australia, etc., and not just in Saudi? Possibly, Victor. The only thing I will say is that I've got a feeling the Saudis, they're only after the big picture. I don't see them coming to Australia. Look, you never know. I mean, they have obviously dealt with Tasman Fighters with Jai, and I think Justice has been on their cards as well. So maybe, and Eddie Hearns, of course, with those guys as well. So maybe, potentially, but I just think at the moment, obviously, Saudi's where it's at. They're definitely now looking to invade America, and then UK is the other one. So they might see Saudi Arabia, obviously, and then maybe the UK and the US as the hot markets they need to control, and aren't that stressed about Australia. Because you still got to remember the broadcasting issues we have here in Australia, and I'm sure there's other countries out there. Japan, I don't think they'd go there because it's a whole different market. I'm not sure that would be up their alley. But I think at this stage, Victor, I think that it's the US and then the UK. There has been talk that Anthony Joshua will fight in the UK later in the year at Wembley Stadium. So I think at this stage that would be enough. You still got to have the resources to do that. They've got it, Eddie and that to do the groundwork for them in a lot of the countries, but it's a lot to do. And here in Australia, unless they worked in with a no limit, then who knows? But I'm not sure Australia's would be on their list at the moment, mate. Because you look at even Eddie Hearn, he said he was going to come to Australia, done one show and hasn't been back. So we'll see. But it'd be great if they did. Still with Victor. Loving the questions here, guys. Keep it up. I've no problem with Turk taking over, but still want to see fights in different parts of the world. Well, that quite possibly could be the plan, Victor. Could be to establish the States, establish the UK, and then it might be say, okay, where do we go next? Where's the next hot spot? And maybe they do look at Australia. Eddie might say, hey, nudge, nudge, wink, wink. Got a few of the boys down there. Let's put on Jai in Australia because they'd have the money to put behind him. And we've got such a red-hot roster of fighters here in Australia at the moment. If they can all work in together, and again, money talks, that who knows, wouldn't it be great to have Jai, Tim, George Cambosis, the Maloney boys, all on the same show. It'll be a Sky Nicholson, whatever it might be, all on the same show. It'll be awesome. There's Batman. How you going there, mate? Yes, it is a crazy fight, Tszyu versus Ortiz. Kyle, Stan really needs to stay away from boxing. $60 for a pay-per-view, but you must be a subscriber. I don't think they'll be around too long, Kyle. I think there's other streaming services sniffing around at the moment, so I wouldn't be surprised if Stan say it's a little bit too hard, or the promoters say, yeah, look, we're not sort of, because you got to remember with streaming services like Stan, they would require a production level at a certain sort of level, and I don't think they really pay a lot to put the shows on. So I think the promoters would say, look, it's just not worth my while. So we'll see. With Batman, Saudis are now working with the WBA also. Okay, well, that obviously makes sense. The WBA, well, that's the next. Do the Saudis now, they've worked with different promoters and in effect with different fighters? Do they do what they're doing now, Batman, and actually start working with organisations and freezing other organisations out? It's going to be a fascinating time. It's just amazing what money can do, and they have unlimited funds, unlimited resources. They're going to shake things up if they want to. They might say, no, it's okay. We're happy doing what we're doing now. But if they get a real go-getter in there that says, right, we're gonna put De La Hoya out of business, we're going to team with the WBA, we're going to put the WBC out of business. Who knows? But it's going to be fascinating to see over the next few years, isn't it? I'm so excited for the in-away fight next Monday night. $50. Take my money. Go $1 over that for any pay-per-view. It's team stream. Yep. Oh, look, for $50, Damien, it's an awesome card to get. And normally these cards are free, I think, aren't they? The Japanese ones, but of course Jason's on the card, so it's a quick opportunity to make a buck. But I think $50, as you say, mate, take my money. I'm with you. There's the pound for pound king. How you going there, mate? Welcome to the show, Andy. Belts matter, in my opinion. Okay, yes, organisations can bend rules and piss us off at times, but as a fan of the sport, I follow accomplishments/titles. Pocket watching is pointless if I don't got to spend it. Yeah, look, good call there too, Andy. I'm not going to disagree with you, but let's just hope that what the Saudis are doing not the Saudis, but what's happening with the organisations at the moment, they just get maybe a wake-up call that they need to do better. They need to tidy up their belts. They need to trim them back. They need to be a bit more reasonable with sanctioning fees. They have to be, make fighters more accountable. And if they do that, then we're back on track. But until they do that, Andy, I don't think they're going to get a lot of sympathy from the fans out there. I really don't. I don't hear, well, you've given them a bit of praise there. I don't hear many people praising the sanctioning bodies, I can tell you. Back to Brock and Nikita. Brock at 154 is going to be a problem. Can punch and got caught by Paro chasing the early finish. Well, as I said, Peter, he can fight Brock Jarvis. Be interested to see what he's like. He's left Jeff now. Does he go backwards or does he go forwards? That's the other thing. And does the weight really have that much of an effect? You got to remember in the previous fights of his career, always struggling to make weight, doing weight really, really hard. So you're spending most of the time worrying about weight than worrying about improving skill and technique and everything else and fitness. So at 154, well, he's big, he's strong, makes the weight comfortably. Are we going to see the Brock Jarvis that we all thought that we were going to see at 118 or 122 or whatever it might have been? So I'm fascinated to see how Brock goes because the kid can fight. Yes, a bit chinny, but is that because he was fighting 6, 7, 8 kilos, which is what, 14, 15, 16 pounds below what he was naturally supposed to fight at? So, yeah, we'll see, Peter, won't we? It does look like it's going to happen, though, doesn't it? Andy says, in saying that, WBA and WBC are the most greediest. Yeah, they certainly are. Okay, so Mutzi says Winwood is fighting Joey Kanoi. Yeah, and I have seen a bit of Joey Kanoi. He's got a good record. He can fight. I think if it's the one I'm thinking of, I actually won't look it up now. It takes too long. But no, as I said, I don't think they'd put Alex in there with anyone unless they were confident that he'd get the job done. Apart from the Cambosis fight, I'm sick of the Victorian government. not going after some big fights. Victorians love the big fights. Yeah, well, they're being sort of left out in the cold at the moment, aren't they, Peter? I mean, we got a few big fights there. I think they're more focused on other events. I don't know whether they got burnt a little bit by the Cambosis Haney fight or whatever it might have been, but it's almost like they're looking at other events and don't probably rate boxing highly enough. I know they'd probably love to get Tim Tszyu, but maybe, look, let's face it, Peter, there's probably not a lot of money left in the budget at the moment either, is there? I mean, we've been over this, or we go over this every single week. The Victorian government have absolutely stuffed our economy, so maybe they just don't have the budgets. It's all about the football and the horse racing and the Grand Prix and the tennis and all that sort of stuff and some concerts here or there. Maybe they've just decided to focus on those events and forget about these fights. And then you've got the other states who are saying, okay, we're all cashed up, let's go. And let's take some events. I see even Adelaide, they had the Live Golf over the weekend. They've had the Gather Round. They've had, what else did they have? They had some car race, big car race over there as well. Might have been the V8s, whatever it was as well. So they're all getting busy. Perth, of course, has got this week's fight. They've had the UFC. They've had the WWE. So they're getting into it as well. Queensland, of course. The only ones that really haven't been proactive a lot is Victoria and New South Wales, the two biggest states as far as population goes. So we'll see, Peter. But, yeah, I'm with you there, mate. I'd love to see a couple of more big fights because they're being left behind at the moment. JYD, how you going there, mate? Big fight coming to Wembley, AJ versus Wilder. Well, that would be great, wouldn't it? Does Wilder get past Zhang, though, mate? That's the next question. Maybe Joshua fights the winner. Who knows? Inoue versus Neri in Tokyo Dome was tracking to be the biggest fight in Japan's history, even over Tyson versus Douglas. Wow. $20 million plus dollar gate. Only Saudis could get him to leave now. Wow, that is massive. Well, I did see that it was going to be the biggest fight over there of all time. That's crazy. I think it will surpass Tyson and Douglas, isn't it? But that's how big Inoue and the other fighters on that card are now. So, yeah, that's great news. A $20 million plus dollar gate. That is just nuts. What have we got there? Batman, really surprised Tszyu versus Ortiz is happening so soon. Yeah, I was too, Batman. When I heard the rumours, I was like, nah, I don't think that's the fight that probably Tim wants next. I know he'll probably want it down the track, but probably a little bit early. But it's amazing when the Saudis get involved, isn't it, mate? That how quick these guys make this. And good luck to them, as I said. If they're making $1 million over what they would get on any other show, then good luck to them. And take the fight. And, you know, and the belt secondary, I think. Take the money while you can. There's the Greater Tapestry. How you going there, mate? Well, no, I appreciate that, mate. Love what you do. Really appreciate it for you and everyone else tuning in at the moment. Peter says, Davis folded Garcia with body shots, folded him like a deck chair. Well, is that probably an example of what I was saying of like Brock Jarvis, Peter? Was Ryan Garcia weakened by having, it was a 136, remember? And he weighed, what was it, 143 last week? So over 7 pounds, which is what, 6.5 kilos. It's a lot of weight, and we've seen the pictures in comparison. So was that an example of when you're fighting too low, that can happen? Do you have to say, screw wasting away? Do I just go up to where I'm nice and strong? And I actually like Garcia going to 147. I think it's a great move for him. Does Davis beat Garcia even if he was at his preferred weight? I still think so. I think Gervonta Davis, is, as they say, styles make fights, and Davis, I think, would beat Ryan Garcia probably 9 times out of 10. But just so happens, Garcia has the style to make life very hard for Haney, obviously, as we saw, and did it 3 times in the amateurs as well, which is probably why he was so confident. He knew that he could get to Haney and land and hurt him, and he did the job. JYD again, what do you think about Junior Farr hanging up the gloves? I didn't actually see that, JYD. No, I'm not quite sure the circumstance. I think he lost his last fight. Was that in the UFC, was it? I know he was a boxer. If it's UFC, mate, you're wasting time asking me about it. I wouldn't have a clue. I don't follow it. Kyle again. What have we got there? Where do you see Tasman Fighters? They seem to have lost their roster. Looking through the website, only seem to be promoting Gip, Wallace, Apataya, and Honey. Is this the end? Well, I can tell you, Kyle, I can't let too much out of the bag. But I had a talk with Mick Francis last week, and let's just say they're far from finished, mate. So they've got big things on the go. One thing I will say is what they're probably looking at is that there's so much going on out there. You've got No Limit doing what they're doing on the main channels. You've got Ace Boxing with the 7+, and there's lots of other promoters. It's a really, really tough time, I think, at the moment to be a promoter, trying to work your way up the ranks, because it's pretty tough at the top at the moment. So I've got a feeling what they're doing is saying, okay, we've got probably the pound for pound best fighter in Australia in Joe Pataya, one of the best in the world, of course. Justice Hoodie on the way up. Connor Wallace is probably going to fight for a world title at some stage. Jack Gibbs probably a level or two down, but they've got, especially in Opataya and Hoodie, two of the most talented fighters in Australia under the banner in their stable. So they're going to focus more on those guys rather than just putting on fight nights all the time. Because as I said, there's so many other promoters being very, very active, and the fighters are hard to come by. And yes, we've seen Hardman, we've seen Dana Coolwell, seen Taylor Robinson all jump ship. But I don't think Tasman Fighters would have been too stressed about that, because as I said, I think at the moment they're more worried about managing those fighters rather than just promoting. And you will see, obviously, we've seen Opataya and Hoodie fighting on the Saudi cards. You'll probably likely see Connor Wallace maybe fight overseas. Who knows what happens with Gip. So I think they're more focused on just managing their guys through their careers at the moment, rather than just putting on shows and competing with a No Limit or an Ace Boxing. But we'll see. But they have got some big plans, Cole. But it's about as much as I can say. Damien, I would love Turkey to purchase DAZN. You might even bring it back to no pay-per-view and subscription only. Get rid of those stupid numbers that pop up on the screen and all the pausing on non-pay-per-view events. I've been pretty critical of DAZN the whole way, Damien. I never have good commentators. I think the production quality is really limited. I just don't like the whole model, and I understand they've got to. They've got budgets. They've only got so much money to spend. I get that. But I just don't think the shows are well done. The production's well done. I think they could do a hell of a lot better with the commentary team. And I just think the whole DAZN thing for me is a bit hollow, if you ask me. But they're in with Eddie and Oscar. So they're probably in with two of the biggest promoters in the world, aren't they? So we're going to keep signing up. Peter says Victorian government are looking at train stations. I don't know what the hell they're looking at, Peter, to be honest with you. They are looking at taxing us taxpayers more than they ever have in history. The most overtaxed state, or the most taxed state in Australia we are, Peter. And who knows what they're doing. They're spending millions or billions of dollars to not do things. That's ridiculous. But anyway, we're a boxing show, so let's move on. Double G, how you going, mate? Tim and Virgil are two come-forward fighters. Who gets put on the back first? I think you'll see Tim be very patient with Virgil. And when I say patient, I don't mean backing up. I just mean being very patient, very clinical, looking for the openings and not being reckless at all. He had to be reckless against Fundora. He had no choice. But I think you'll see Tim go back to that hunter that we saw before that. And I think Virgil, while he's always dangerous, he can punch. I just don't think he's got the repertoire to beat Tim. And I just think as the fight goes on, you'll see Tim's class come to the top. I've seen AJ is going to fight the winner of Wilder Zhang or Dubois Hrgovic, or whoever is more impressive. I think Zhang wins, but would love for a Wilder KO, so we finally get that AJ Wilder match. It'd be entertaining, wouldn't it, Victor? I'd still like, as much as I think Wilder is probably the least talented heavyweight champion, I think, in history. Probably Primo Canara might give him a run for his money. And that's no disrespect to Wilder. I mean, he won a version of the title. Not, in my opinion, wasn't the title, but a version. Had 10 defences against the, as they say, the old tomato cans. But I think I'd still love to see how AJ would react if Wilder bounces a big right hand off his chin, because Wilder has proven he can be a bit chinny, so I'd still like to see that fight. I don't think Zhang is much of a challenge for AJ. I think AJ would just box his ears off for 12 rounds. Don't think he'd stop him, or maybe late, but I think AJ wins that fight comfortably. The big test though is, or the big question is, who wins out of Zhang and Wilder? It's a tough one. I think Zhang. I've gone back and forth on this, but I think I'd probably go for Zhang, even though he looked shocking in his last fight. I think Wilder looked worse, and I'm not sure Wilder has the ability or the power to put Zhang down. Zhang can take a punch. He's a big, big guy, so I'm going to put my money on Zhang. But yeah, either way, Victor, any of those connotations would be great. Yep, Batman, Canelo, in a way, fight week. It's just this seems to be every weekend. There's just big fights, isn't there? We've got some big ones coming up, so no complaints here, Batman. I think I asked you this before, but if Fury beat Usyk and AJ then retired into the sunset, would it be a top 10 heavyweight of all time? That's a definitive no, Victor. Neither Fury, Usyk, or AJ, in my opinion, are anywhere near the 10 best heavyweights of all time. I mean, how do you have a AJ displace? I mean, I'm just going to rattle them off in no particular order, so don't get on me about who's above who. It's just no particular order. I couldn't put him anywhere close to, let's see, an Ali, a Joe Louis, a Larry Holmes, a George Foreman, a Joe Fraser, a Lennox Lewis, a Evander Holyfield, Joe Fraser, and there's Mike Tyson. There's 9 just there. And then you've got Rocky Marciano and Jack Dempsey and Jack Johnson and all these heavyweights over the journey. Riddick Bowe and not that probably Bowe's part of it, but you see, the Klitschko's. So there's no way, in my opinion, AJ or any of those guys, Fury or Usyk, could even be considered. So to answer your question, mate, that's a no. Definitely thought both teams would have left that fight for down the road, but what an amazing action fight, one of the best in boxing. Yeah, well, it's getting all the attention at the moment, isn't it, Batman? Tszyu and Ortiz, and it just seems a little bit out of place. So if you ask me, in my opinion, it should have been a separate main event. I don't mind the fact it's on the card. Of course, the more the better, but I just would have thought maybe Tszyu and Ortiz could have been a fight that they looked at maybe for the next one. So maybe get them both on that card, but maybe against slightly lesser opposition, and then look for them to maybe even headline the next show after that. But obviously they know what they're doing, and we're going to get a great fight on a good card. I'm thinking Wilder will win, and Zhang versus Parker, a rematch will be on the undercard. Yeah, good way to look at it, mate. I don't know. Well, poor old Joseph Parker, he's sort of in no man's land at the moment. He's had the 2 biggest wins of his career, arguably. He beat Anya Ruiz, of course, as well a few years back. But, yeah, he's got nowhere to go because I don't think he's going to fight Fury because they're mates. AJ, I don't think will want to fight him because he's beaten him before. And Usyk, he probably doesn't want to fight the Parkers of the world. He just wants the Joshuas and Furies. So, yeah, he's been left out in the cold a little bit. But, again, JYD, any of those mixes of matches would be fine by me. Victor, I get the 1-3-6 and rehydration. That clause sucked, but tank countering skills and that pop is going to be a huge problem for a left hook happy fighter. It's a style thing. Yep. As I said, Victor, I don't think the weight would have mattered in the end. I think that Gervonta Davis would have beaten Garcia, even if he weighed in at 150, to be honest. I hope the turkey gets into the movies also and gets this Drago movie made, Godfather 2 style, going back to the Soviet days to today, please. Look, it's a great concept, Damien. I would love to see that as well. These standalone movies, we've seen it with the Joker, we've seen it with even with Wonka, Willy Wonka, and now Drago. It'd be great. I think they could have done the Wonka movie a little bit better if you ask me. I always hope they do a standalone prequel for Wonka, but the Drago one would be great to go through how he got into boxing. Of course, his amateur career, he's an Olympic gold medalist in Rocky, and then of course the lead up to the Rocky fight, maybe the aftermath of the Rocky fight as well, because his life fell to pieces. He was disowned. His wife left him, and they pretty much wiped their hands of him. So they could go to a lot of places with that movie. Of course, if they could even just leave the Rocky fight out of it. I mean, sort of have it in there, but don't show it if that makes sense. But just have the before the fight and aftermath of the fight. And there's so many things these days, and I like the fact that the directors and producers are getting a little bit more imaginative and delving into characters, really, really deeply. I'd love to even on just one more thing. I'd love to see even. I know they've just relaunched the Roadhouse thing. I would love to see the prequel of the first one with Patrick Swayze, how he became a cooler, how he got to meet Sam Elliott's character. What's his name? Wade Garrett. How he met him and some of their adventures, just things like that. I just think there's even Netflix series and all that sort of stuff. Karate Kid showing that you can revive a franchise or a movie. I love it. So let's hope we do get that, Damien. I'll move on. Do they have boxing on 7+? Yes, it's not. Yeah, 7+. Yep. They certainly do, Damien. Ace Boxing every month, and I think every Monday night they have a talk show as well. Check your local guides. I have a dream that a deal can be struck with Fox Sports and DAZN. Fox works with ESPN. Why not DAZN? It's a good question, Kyle. And look, we always get a lot of the people I talk to from, say, in the States are so frustrated they can't see Aussie boxing in the States. Last week with the Nikita fight, No Limit don't have a relationship with DAZN or anyone apart from Fox Sports, but Fox Sports, of course. But they need a streaming service that they can sell to overseas with the Americans or the English or whatever it might be. I know the time zones have a bit to play, but it's staggering to think that No Limit don't have a broadcast deal or a streaming deal with an overseas app of some sort. And DAZN just makes sense. I know, of course, Tasman Fighters have the contract at the moment, but that's who knows what's going to happen with that, whether it's exclusive or whatever. It would make sense, of course, that No Limit or whatever would have a relationship with DAZN, but I don't know the ins and outs of it all, Kyle. But you're right, it would be a perfect scenario, wouldn't it? JYD, Junior Farr was a boxer. Yeah, he was. I think I might have promoted him at one stage, mate, early in his career. He fought Plugger Joseph way back in the day, and he outweighed Plugger by about 50 kilos from memory. He was massive and about 6 inches in height. Lost his last 3 against Parker, Brown, and said, oh, okay, now I know the one you're talking about. Yep. 2 big KO losses included. Says he doesn't enjoy it anymore and doesn't want to hurt people. Then, Junior, get out. As soon as you say you don't enjoy it anymore, especially if you don't want to hurt people, well, you're in the wrong sport, aren't you? But look, he's a big boy. He's done the best he can. He's got a brother as well, doesn't he, mate? I'm not quite sure. But if that's the case, yeah, good decision to walk away. What's that? Paul Michael Craig. Evening all. What have I missed? I won't bore you with everything, Paul, because there's been a lot. We've been going for an hour and 12 minutes, so just go back and rewatch it. The lounge room. I love some of the names are getting on here at the moment. Belts don't matter when the best fight the best, because the proven best from fighting everyone can't be denied a shot at the belt once all contenders are eliminated. Yep, mate, I agree. You don't have to convince me, but I mean they do matter. We all still like to see the guys have a belt, but I think we're all a bit frustrated at the whole scene at the moment, where we don't know who's the true champion, and sanctioning bodies keeping fighters are being allowed to keep belts for ransom and all this sort of stuff. That's what I don't like. And let's just hope with what's going on in the world of boxing at the moment, they just get that wake up call and they pull their finger out and they get back to what they're supposed to do, and have a champion who defends the belt regularly and fights the best fighters they're supposed to. A voluntary and then a mandatory. It's not that hard. Damien, are you staying up all night to watch Usyk Fury, or get to bed early and set the old alarm? I'll be setting the alarm, Damien. What time does the card actually start? Actually, I haven't got it on my phone. I'm assuming it's going to be really, really early. I'll set the alarm, mate. Look, I'm getting on a little bit in years, mate. So I'm not going to stay up all hours. I'll probably get up at maybe 3 or 4 o'clock or something. That's about the best I can do, mate. So I'll be up there for the last 3 or 4 fights anyway. Pitbull Cruz on the card too. That's the other one. Yes, thanks, Captain. Pitbull, I forgot about him. That'll be a good fight, but again, not super appealing. Like it's not like it's like drive off the road sort of stuff. It's a good fight. They're all good fights, but they're not great fights. It's not a great card. It's a very, very good card, and again, I welcome it. I can't wait for it, but let's just not get too excited. JYD, thanks for your stream. Very informative. No, all good, mate. If I don't know, I'll just make it up as I go. Anyway. Double G, way off topic. All right, but I rewatched Danny Green sparring James Toney, the infamous wildcard sparring session. Talk about weight difference. Danny stood his ground, though. He did. If you haven't seen it, look it up on YouTube, Danny Green and James Toney. And if you know the story that James Toney actually threatened he was going to go to his car and get his gun. And I think Danny Green was like, shit, do I get out of here? But look, I just think he was frustrated. Danny did really well, but looking at the weight difference, then I would have thought that, Danny was probably fighting at super middle then. So what's that, 168? He probably walked around at 178, 180 or whatever it might have been. James Toney looked all of 230, 240 pounds. He was a big, big guy at the time. But it would have been entertaining anyway for those that were there. Matsy, there was something about a gun after that spar. Yep, that's the one, mate. He was going to his car. Gotta want to hurt people. It's the hurt business. There's All Star Boxing. There's Benny Harrington. How you going, mate? Glad to see you're back amongst it. I'm not sure whether you've seen our comments about Liam earlier. Have you got some comments about that? Then put it in the chat. What are we working on at the moment? Dan, when you said Plugger, I thought of the great Tony Lockett. Nah, mate. Joseph Plugger Lockett from Tasmania. He was a warrior. He was only small. He was only about 5'9" or 10, whatever. But he was solid. But he was a cruiserweight that fought at heavyweight, mate, and he did really, really well. Plugger. Batman, Canelo Munguia, and Inoue Neary fight week. Yep, can't wait, mate. So I got to the bottom of the comments there. I don't know what's happening there. Did you see that Terem Mona Jr. won another pre-Olympics tournament, won the semi and final by KO? No, I didn't see that, Paul. So he's an interesting one, isn't he? Because he was an amateur who then turned pro, and now he's gone back to amateur. Do you agree with it or not? I'm not quite sure, but he's a big, big guy. And I think Australia, what do we got? A dozen people, I think, at the Olympics, which is just unbelievable in this day and age. Because normally with the qualifying, the qualifications need to get there. You need to win X amount of tournaments. It's really hard to do that these days and have so many at the level. I know when I went in 96, we had 8, but the qualifying level was a hell of a lot less than what it is now. You didn't have to win as many big tournaments and get ranked so high. So we had 8 at the time. But the fact they got 12, I know it includes the girls, but just a great effort by all concerned with the Australian Olympic team. Another story that caught my eye was David Tszyu wants the Mike Tyson Jake Paul winner. Oh, don't tell me that, mate. Don't say that. Wouldn't surprise. Geez, what a fight that would have been. David Tszyu and Mike Tyson. You talk about the mirror image of each other. That would have been a really good fight. And to be honest with you, I think David Tszyu would have been a great chance of beating Mike Tyson, only because it's, as I said, it's like a mirror fighting each other. Tszyu had an awesome chin. So could Tyson rock him? I think Tszyu could hurt Tyson because Tyson could be hurt, but could it happen the other way around? I think Mike Tyson had a little bit better skills than Tszyu, but Tszyu still had really good skills. That would have been an awesome fight. I'm not sure I want to see it these days, though, mate, but who knows? I just want look, I don't care. As long as Mike Tyson flattens Jake Paul, mate, I could not give a toss who he fights next. You'd have a rematch with Buster Douglas for all I care. I couldn't care less, but I just wanted to beat Jake Paul. What do we got there? Hang on. Going through the comments. Now I'm actually back behind a little bit. Paul says, I think he'll go better than Huni in the pros. Is that right? Wow, okay. I mean, Huni's a very, very good fighter. Mutzi, slow up. He's getting through the comments too quick. Well, I'm trying, Mutzi, because I always get a slap on the wrist saying, well, you hurry up, you're about 5 minutes behind. So I'm trying. But yeah, I actually got to the end there for probably the first time in history. There's Benny Harrington. Missed that one about Liam in the gym working away to fix our floors with the rest of the boys. Tuisi, Vegas, Hussein, Billy Pokinghorn. What we said, Benny, was that someone brought up about Nikita and Liam probably having to use their brains a bit more, and I did say that there is something that you guys have been working on. It's an issue that Liam himself spoke about after the fight, and it said he needed to work on. if he was going to be at the level. And I think we all know that Liam's ability-wise is there, but he needs to work on listening to, obviously, you in the corner and all the work you do in the lead-up. I did an interview with Glenn Jennings in Vegas the day after the fight with Valdez. And he did say that during training camp, he never switched to southpaw, which he did in the fight. He didn't fight inside in training camp, or the plan wasn't to fight inside in the training camp. In the fight, he did. So that was along the lines, mate, is what you guys are working on in training, and are you working on that? So, and if you've got any information about when Liam's back, then put it in the chat as well. All right, Andy, salute to number 2 New Zealand heavyweight Junior Far. Dude was a humble, respectful fighter who medalled at the Commonwealth Games and repped autism on his trunks. Okay, I missed that, Andy. That's great. Wish the man well post boxing. And the Pacific Islanders, Andy, they are all just gentlemen. They really, really are. All the Pacific Islanders I've met over the years in boxing and just in general society. Just they're all most of them are religious people. They are so family focused, religion focused, and just beautiful people. So best of luck to him in his retirement. Bill Hack. If belts don't matter, how do you control weight missing? Missing weight is unfair. If one busts his ass to get rid of a 3 pounds and other fighters don't, it's a huge disadvantage, especially in later rounds. It is, Bill, and that's what I said before, mate. I think that if we do go away a little bit from the belt scenario, that we might find that the Garcia clause comes in where, okay, if you miss weight, then this is the penalty. It might be a massive financial penalty, more than the 1.5. Because when these guys are getting paid, what did Garcia make? 50 million. What's he going to miss 1.5 million? He ended up making 12 million back on a bet on himself anyway. So I would say there might be the rehydration clause. You might get a massive fine for starters, and there might be a rehydration clause or a penalty. And if you go above that, then there's even more penalties, or the fight gets called off. Who knows? You might be sued by the promoter. Lots of different things, but what I will see is I think that the Garcia loophole will be, I won't say it's closed because they always find a way to slip in another little loophole, but there'll be that particular loophole I think will be closed up in contracts going forward. I think they'll be right onto it because if you get to the point, it probably never occurred to him, Bill, that Ryan didn't care about the belt and didn't care about the money. He just wanted to win. It would never have crossed their mind, which is why I said at the start of the show, I think boxing is evolving and we've got to move with the times and close these loopholes and other loopholes that might come about. But look, he pulled Swifty over everyone, didn't he? He really did. Hoodie needs to pile up a few fights. Yeah, he's had a few injuries and illness problems, mate. But I think, again, talking to Mick Francis last week, I think he's looking for a busy 2024. So let's hope so. I wish Tszyu versus Tyson happened. How entertaining that would have been. Oh, what a fight it would have been. Just right from the word bell. The first bell from the word go. Because both fighters have had so many early knockouts in their careers. And I think Tszyu would have been a great chance against Tyson. I really do. Just like I think Joe Fraser would have been against Tyson because they're similar type of fighters. Joe Fraser didn't have the one-punch power of these guys. These guys had, but what he did have that these guys didn't necessarily have is that work rate. Joe Fraser's work rate, I think, is the best of any heavyweight of all time. Arguably, maybe Rocky Marciano, but so that probably would offset the power side. But these two in particular, Tszyu and Tyson, what a fight it would have been. Wow. Tszyu and Tyson had the exact same dimensions. Yeah, they did. Yep. Jake Paul going to need reconstruction after Tyson's finished with him. Well, I hope so, mate. I've just got a really bad feeling, though, if I'm going to be honest, that Mike Tyson will come out. It might be two different scenarios here. Mike Tyson comes out like the animal that we remember in boxing, and 30 seconds later he's done, and he's gassed and either quits or he's stopped or whatever it might be. You've got to remember he's going to be 58 years old. Now, credit to him for being in the shape he's in and what he's going to bring on the night. That's my fear, though. He's great for 30 seconds, and that'll be it after that. And the other thing is, what we might get, we've got to remember, these two are, I suppose, friends or business associates, whatever it might be, but they know each other really, really well, been on each other's podcasts and all this sort of stuff. Whether we just get a 4-round snooze fest where they go through the motions and throw a few punches, and we don't really get any explosiveness at all. I mean, that's pretty hard. Mike Tyson doesn't really know any other way. And Jake Paul, he's the type of guy that would try and do something sneaky. Do we get a WWE type of result? Who knows? But look, it's free, and I can't wait for the card, mate, because I want to see Serrano Taylor too. That's the only fight I'm looking forward to. There's Shamrock 11. How you going there, mate? Good group there. Benny, looking forward to seeing more of Vegas and Billy. Yeah. I think we got asked a couple of weeks ago about Vegas Larfield, Benny. So if you know, let us know what's or if you're allowed to, let us know what's happening. And wouldn't you know it, I'm actually at the end of the comments. What else have we got, guys? So who's going to win this week? I'm sure there'll be a few more coming in a sec there, but who's going to win this week? Canelo, Munguia. If I'm going to be asked for a prediction, I think Canelo does win. But this fight I like because it's not it's not written in stone. Munguia is not scripted in any way. And I'm not saying any fights are fixed or anything like that, but I just get the impression that a lot of Canelo's recent opponents, they know what they're in there for. They know they're the B-side. They know they're not supposed to win, and they almost fight accordingly. And Canelo gets the ability to pretty much do whatever he wants. Fights when he wants to fight, rest when he wants to rest. He puts them away when he wants to put them away. It's almost a foregone conclusion, if I'm going to say that. Munguia doesn't know that way to fight. He's 43-0. He's a young guy. Well, when I say young, he's 27, I think he is. So I've got a feeling he's going to come to fight and give Canelo some problems early. I just think as the fight goes on, I think you see Canelo just overpower him. I'm going to pick Canelo by unanimous decision. What do we got there? So it's Andy. Got a few more comments there. My first favourite heavyweight champ. I might be biased in saying I hope Mike can rewind the clock and get that W. Yeah. I've been a big defender of Tyson over the years, Andy. A lot of people love to lay the boots and say he wasn't anywhere near the best heavyweights. But, mate, if you're like me and you remember him from the late 80s, early 90s, mate, he was an absolute beast. And I would think the 89... Well, 88, 89, sort of 90, not so much 90 because that's when he lost to Douglas, but the 88, 89 version of Mike Tyson, when he was only in his early 20s, remember, I think would match it with any heavyweight in history. I really do. And that includes Ali and Joe Louis. I think that heavyweight demolishes the likes of a Jack Dempsey or a Rocky Marciano. Just my opinion, but I just think he's judged too much on his later fights rather than when he was at his peak. And it's just scary to think he was at his peak in his early 20s. Imagine what it would have been if he had to stay with Kevin Rooney. That is the big thing of the whole equation of Mike Tyson. When he left Kevin Rooney, it was like split it down the middle, two separate careers. We had probably 3 or 4 different careers, didn't he, over the journey? But the Kevin Rooney era, I don't think... I'm not going to say would have beaten every heavyweight in history, but in my opinion, would have matched it or beaten every single heavyweight there was in history, including Joe Louis, Muhammad Ali, Larry Holmes, all those guys. So I'm not sure how you see it, but that's what I think anyway. Yep, Canelo. I think we'll get a few of them. Munguia is a live dog, but the judges won't allow it. Yeah, well, you get the impression, Paul, that if it goes the distance, only one guy's getting the decision. Can you imagine, though, if Munguia does beat Canelo? What is Oscar De La Hoya going to do? He's got Garcia over Haney. You'd have Munguia over Canelo. Suddenly he becomes the hottest promoter in the game. It's crazy times, and we might not see Oscar for a few weeks if that's the case. He might be behind closed doors doing who knows what. Yeah, look, it's that he's on the cusp of being the biggest promoter in the sport, and that includes, I suppose, arguably the Saudis, but and also interesting with that as well is what Oscar does against the Saudis. He's come out swinging this week. He's had the some social media stuff saying he's not going to allow him into his town. Now, the only problem is with that, Oscar, is that the Saudis pretty much have an unlimited budget. If they want to put you out of business, they're going to put you out of business. It's as simple as that, or anyone in the world. When you've got unlimited funds, there's not much really you can do, except maybe work with them. That might be the other option. Any news on Akaway? Was hoping to see him on another No Limit card by now. Well, Shamrock, he should have been on the next card no matter what. They did a pay-per-view last week. Mikhailovich was on there. They had a couple of 4, 6, 8 rounds, whatever it could have been. Why couldn't they have got Akaway in there, even a 6-rounder? I think they owe it to Akaway. He did nothing wrong on the show. He did everything right, by the way. He weighed in, and he also said, stick your 3-4 kilos, whatever it was, to Reynolds Quinlan. No limit, in my opinion. I don't know what went on behind closed doors, so I'm not going to comment on that. But if I had been no limit, it would have seen Bilal Akaway. You are on the next show given, either headlining or if it's a pay-per-view, you're on the undercard. But either way, we're going to look after you because you did the right thing. You got to remember, Akaway did the right thing and was shunted off the card. I know he said he's not going to fight, but Quinlan ended up getting a fight on the card and Akaway didn't. I'm not sure how that makes sense. So I hope he's back soon, Shamrock, because he deserves it. And they should look after him and give him a good fight and a well-paid fight next time out. JYD, I believe Canelo wins in round 9 to 10. You think he stops Munguia? Yeah, well, it's on the cards, I suppose. But either way, I think it'll be a really good fight. And I don't understand a lot of the hate that this fight has got. Well, I won't say hate, but a lot of people saying they're not, they don't like the fight. But who else is there? Apart from Benavidez, of course, the obvious one. If that fight's not going to happen for whatever reason at this stage, then I think Munguia is the next best fight. And I did shudder this week, though, I must admit, when I saw that Jamal Charlo is in line to fight Canelo in September. We all know how Jamal Charlo went. Is Jamal going to do anything different? I strongly doubt it. So I hope that's not the case. But let's see. So it's not going to be Benavidez because Benavidez is fighting in June. So you wouldn't have thought he's going to back up in early September. So Matsi believes Canelo, Inoue and Maloney. Yes. Let's hope so, mate. Andy, Canelo versus Munguia is still a quality fight. Likely Canelo by unanimous decision for me too, yep. Batman, who you got, mate? Munguia has plenty of speed and power and a fantastic engine, but still Canelo is much more polished and even potential on the slide. Some still should have enough to beat Munguia and do it well. Yeah, I think Canelo's still got a little bit left, Batman. I think style-wise, I think he matches up well against Munguia, and I think he'll like the fact that Munguia is coming to him. He'll be able to pick his shots, pick his angles. And I think Canelo, as he showed against Triple G and a couple of others, he does fight pretty well off the back foot as well. So I think Canelo as well. Paul, if Munguia was with the same promotional company, it could be a passing of the baton fight, Mexican to Mexican. Yeah, well, in a perfect world, Paul, of course, Canelo was with Golden Boy, but geez, that's gone frosty, hasn't it? Canelo and Golden Boy, they didn't even acknowledge each other at the press conference. And I got a feeling that if Canelo beats Munguia on Sunday here, that there could be a couple of words exchanged from Canelo, I think. Batman says, Prime Canelo would stop Munguia, but I was impressed by Canelo against Charlo. He controlled every moment of that fight, same way he did against Callum Smith, so maybe Canelo has a lot left. I think he's just fighting smarter, Batman. It's no different to, say, a Floyd Mayweather later in his career. He fought, some say conservatively. I don't think he fought conservatively. I just thought he fought smart. He counterpunched. He fought at a good weight that he felt comfortable at and didn't drain himself at his, late 30s or whatever it was, mid to late 30s when he retired. It's just fighting smart. I think Canelo's doing that now, which probably includes, like Floyd Mayweather, picking the right opponents at the right time. And when you're a superstar and you're the face of boxing like Mayweather was and Canelo is now, then you have the ability to do that. We mightn't like it, but they have the ability to do it. And I'm with you there, mate. I think he's definitely changed the way he's fighting. But you got to remember, what is he, 33, 34, I think Canelo is. But he's an older type of 34 because he's been fighting since, 15 years of age? A long, long career. I think he's been pro for, about 15 years now. So it might even be longer, 15, 16 years. So he's had a lot of fights. So I got no dramas with him picking his opponents carefully and changing his style slightly to maximise the twilight of his career. Machi says, Tyson pre-jail would give Chuck Norris nightmares. I agree, mate. Victor, I'm really curious in what Canelo does if he wins after Munguia. The two biggest threats at 168 in Morrell and Benavidez are now at 175. I guess we get Belunga or Billy next. I hope not, Victor. My pick, if I'm going to be brutally honest, is probably Belunga, but there has been talk that Belunga is in line to fight someone else. I can't remember. was it Caleb Plant or one of them? I can't remember. But if it's not Berlanga, it can't be Morel. Morel's said, stuff this, I'm out of, he's moved up. Benavidez has said, well, I'm not waiting around, I'm going to fight. And again, he's fighting in June. And then Billy, is there Billy anywhere near a big enough name to fight Canelo Alvarez? I don't know. Well, I suppose if John Ryder and a few of the others fought Canelo, then maybe in Billy, but don't know. It's a good call, Victor. And that's why I'm really worried that it's going to be Charlo. I'm a little bit concerned about that, and I'm going to be over there for September, so I hope it's against someone good. So let's see. Paul again. Lennox would have beaten Tyson whenever they fought. Again, Styles, mate. I think Evander Holyfield would have been another one in that boat, Paul. I think Riddick Bowe would have matched up really well against Tyson as well. It's just all about Styles. That's why sometimes when people say, well, this guy beat him and he beat him, and so he's got to be higher up, I think you just got to go by their overall record when you're looking at top tens and this sort of stuff. Because I think Mike Tyson goes very close to beating an Ali or Joe Lewis, and definitely beats, I think, in my opinion, the likes of Marciano. But you're right. I think Lewis and Riddick Bowe and a Larry Holmes in his prime would have matched up really well against Tyson, and Holyfield, of course, would have matched up really well against Tyson. But it's just amazing how, as I say, styles make fights, Paul. But I just think Tyson gets a little bit of a bad rap in the whole scheme of things. Landrum says, too many allowed to sit on the belts. That's the point. So fight everyone else. Forget about everyone trying to be a zero loss in every fight, as Duran, Leonard, Hearns, and Hagler did. Yeah, well, comes down to legacies. What's that? Lounge Room Lizard Chapman. I love that name there. We'll call you the Lizard, eh? Yeah. I don't think you're defined by your record in the end, Lizard. I think you're defined by the fights that you take and when you take them, and obviously results. And look, Duran, we all remember the Leonard loss the second time around, and he was able to recover, and he's probably the top 5 or 6 pound-for-pound fighters of all time. I'm not sure they're all top 10, but Hearns, Hagler, and Leonard, I think Leonard is. But yeah, it's about legacy, and that's why someone like an Oscar De La Hoya and those types of guys are so, and Manny Pacquiao, they might have lost a lot of fights, but just revered because of the fights they had. And they were never scared to fight anyone. They fought anyone, anywhere, anytime, and that's why I put Mike Tyson in that category as well. So, but yeah, I think it's more about legacy in the end, Lizard, because at the end of the day, can you really remember all the titles those guys won? Probably not. Bill, I just want to watch professional boxing with professionals making weight. If Haney said make weight or no fight with what's that? If Haney said make the weight or no fight, win-win for Haney. Yeah, no, you're right, Bill. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying in this day and age, unfortunately, a lot of the traditional sort of stuff. And look, again, Ryan Garcia outsmarted everyone because, as I said, we never thought that he would say, I don't care about the title or the money. It was about winning the fight. And sometimes you can say, I don't care about the belt. Sometimes you might even say you don't care about the money. You take a lower money fight so to make sure you get the belt. Ryan Garcia said, I don't want either of them, and that's never really been done before. He just wanted to get the win because he knew the bigger picture. So, love him or hate him, he played us all, didn't he, Bill? But I do agree with what you're saying there, but I just think as well, on the other hand, that boxing is evolving, it's changing, and we just have to get used to these fighters being businessmen and not just fighters these days. All right. What do we got there? I think Canelo probably stops Munguia. Canelo must be itching for a stoppage win. It's been 3 fights and he didn't get it. Didn't get one, unlike Canelo. Yeah, it is. He normally does stop at least every second opponent, doesn't he, Batman? But it just depends on the opponent you're coming up against. I think Charlo was hard because he ran. Ryder was as tough as nails and pretty cagey. Who was it before that? Was it Golovkin? But with this one, I think Munguia is going to be in front of him, and I think if he's going to stop Munguia, well, he's going to be right there to be hit. So whether he can do it is going to be an interesting one. Victor, Kevin Rooney went on after Mike Tyson and I believe won a title with Vinny Paz after his career-ending neck surgery. Yeah, he did, Victor. My favourite fighter of all time, Vinny Paz. But yeah, Kevin Rooney, really, really good trainer. I just think there was too many yes men in Tyson's ear. Kevin Rooney wasn't one of them. And I think at the end of the day, obviously Don King was in his ear as well. He wanted full control. So he got rid of Rooney because, of course, Bill Caton was out of the picture by then, and his other manager, can't remember his name. But they were out of the picture. Of course, Customato died a few years before that, and then Don King had his hands fully around Mike Tyson, brought in the team he wanted to manage Tyson and train Tyson, and just treated him like a puppet, didn't he? So, Andy Munguia stopping Ryder, bought comparisons, but that was after Ryder went 12 grueling rounds with Canelo. Should be entertaining. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that, Andy. I think it's going to be a great fight. I really do. I think it's a huge event, regardless. Battle of Mexico. Yeah, we did say he was never going to fight a Mexican, didn't he, Batman? But he has. I think because he had no one else to fight between you and me. But yeah, look, I think obviously it's Cinco de Mayo, so it's going to be a massive weekend. I've been to Vegas. I've lost count how many times I've been there during Cinco de Mayo, and it's a massive event. And it's funny though, because it seems to be everyone else besides Mexicans celebrating it. They're all there, by the way, and they will be there in massive numbers for this fight. But it's like every other nationality uses the excuse to go to Vegas and get on it for the weekend, especially the Americans, of course. And it's a bit like us with St. Patrick's Day and everything else. So, but nah, you're right, Batman. It'll be a massive event in Vegas and all around the world, especially obviously Mexico. And it's good to see that Canelo sort of caved a little bit and decided to fight Munguia. It's going to be a great fight. Munguia brings far more danger than this version of Jamal. Yep, I 100% agree, mate. I think Munguia brings a bit of everything. Youth, enthusiasm, he's got power, he's got the stamina, and I think he'll give Canelo some problems early. But as I said earlier, I just think Canelo will be more seasoned, more experienced, and will like the fact that Munguia is coming to him, and I think he should pick him apart. No, don't say that, mate. Eubank versus Canelo. Don't even joke about that. Batman, Canelo has been the hammer for most of his fights, but that many camps, obviously nobody goes on forever. Canelo is a legend, though, and I hope he gets the win. I also believe he will. Well, that's the other thing. Canelo gets a lot of hate these days, Batman, just like Mayweather did, but we cannot excuse the fact that Canelo is an all-time great. He's just a first ballot Hall of Famer and legend. And I just think sometimes, like probably Mayweather and definitely Pacquiao to an extent, and De La Hoya and all these great fighters, once they're gone, we miss them. I mean, we all reminisce now about, back when De La Hoya fought such and such, and when Pacquiao fought such and such, and even when Mayweather fought such and such, and I'm sure we're going to get that with Canelo as well. And I've been very lucky and fortunate. I've seen Canelo fight live many times, and the atmosphere that he gets at his fights, I've never seen anything like it. It's just crazy. I'm probably comparing. I've never seen De La Hoya fight live, but I'm probably imagining it was a lot like what it was like to see Oscar back in the day. I could actually see Eubank getting a Canelo fight. Okay, that's Batman. Eubank Junior profile in the UK is huge, known by people that don't watch boxing. And if Canelo wants a stay busy fight, it could happen. Well, it does make a little bit of sense, doesn't it, Batman? Because there is talk that Eubank Junior might fight Zarafa. Just a few little nibbles here or there about that one. So if you got a tune-up fight versus Michael Zarafa, Canelo, of course, wins this fight. Who knows? Maybe we could get it. If it was in the UK, I think it'd be great. I know Canelo likes to fight in the States on those Mexican weekends. But, geez, if it's a big enough fight, it could even be in Saudi. Who knows? A bigger fight. I'm not sure who they'd get if it's not Benavides. But, yeah. But I think the thing we're going to start getting our head around with Canelo is that he's probably only got maybe 3 fights left, if you ask me. Maybe 4 tops. I don't know, Lynden, I might call Lizard Chappie instead. You call him whatever you want, mate, as long as he's happy. Paul, in Tyson's credit, I don't remember him ducking him the way Bo ducked Lewis. Tyson didn't duck anyone. And that's another thing I respect about him as well. And even the fact that he fought Lennox Lewis when, in my opinion, he had absolutely no hope of beating Lewis. And I can't remember who said it before, but yes, arguably Lewis beats him at any stage of his career. But one thing I can tell you is that if they had a fought, when Tyson was 10 years younger, you would have seen a hell of a different performance by Tyson. And, I'll say it again, when Kevin Rooney left, he got rid of Kevin Rooney, that was the beginning of the end for Mike Tyson. Batman, man, I can't believe Tszyu versus Ortiz is happening. What a fight. Seems so unnecessary for both guys without a title, but then again, I'm not the manager for either, so let's go. Well, it's sort of a title, Batman. I think what's what's happening is obviously it's for the interim WBA belt. So obviously what's going to happen, you can see the dots sort of forming or joining the dots that you would think that the winner of Crawford-Madrimov fights the winner of Tszyu versus Ortiz, and then the winner of that potentially fights the winner of Spence versus Fundora. If that is indeed the case, the timing all sort of matches up. The only probably spanner in the works or asterisk or whatever you want to call it is the fact that Crawford fights once a year, once every 14 or 15 months. So you would think that if these guys fought, if the Crawford and Tszyu fights are in August, you would think that Crawford probably wouldn't want to fight again until May or June the following year. So that's the only thing for me. But it does work in with, obviously works in with Tim, but I suppose it could work in with Spence and Fundora as well, because if they fight in, say, November, it probably would make sense that they'll be ready mid-year as well. So yeah, it's going to be fascinating times, but I don't care what, again, the different mixes are, as long as they all fight each other and we get a unified champion at the end of it. Yep, Eubank needs a fight and is promoterless these days. Is that right? He hasn't got a promoter. Wasn't he with Eddie, wasn't he? I think. That's unusual. So, no, Connor Benz with Eddie. So, yeah, well, that's interesting, JYD. So, we'll see what happens there. Eubank Jr. will sign with Ben Shalom and Boxer very soon. Yeah, well, that's not one company I don't really want to talk about. That's not good for boxing, if you ask me. Can't wait to see the Monster in action once again. Yeah, it should be great, Batman. Boxer, that would be interesting. Yeah, I think they've stuffed around the sport enough as it is so far. Andy Canelo did float the idea he wanted to fight in Britain, so Eubank is possible. Non-Brits might jump up and down about undeserving, though. We'll see what happens. Yeah, I wouldn't begrudge Canelo getting a big fight in England. I think it'd be great for him to fight outside of the States and Mexico, and he has said he wants to fight in the UK, so why not? I think that'd be great. And his man Eddie would be able to make it happen, maybe in conjunction with the Saudis. What was it? Joshua in September, October? Maybe that fits in with Canelo fighting Eubank Jr. on the undercard of that. Not sure Canelo would want to be an undercard, by the way, but you get my drift. Batman, Boxer, Sky Sport can put on a pay-per-view with Eubank Jr. and they have nobody else they can do it with, expecting Eubank versus Brook. Pay-per-view on Sky to be announced very soon. No. Cal Brook back again? Oh, jeez. Anyway. Yes, yep, Canelo UK trip would be huge. Got a few more comments here, guys. He's still going to the Dream Fight episodes. I have to check out, did you do Bud versus Floyd at 147? I am going to do them, Victor. The problem I've had recently is every Wednesday night there seems to be something on. Fight nights and everything else. We've had the pay-per-view, of course, No Limit. We had the 7 Plus. And, of course, I've just gotten back from overseas. So I am going to do them, mate. Every Wednesday night there'll be something. So it'll either be a dream fight or a talking point. So dream fights seem to be the better received. I think I'll do more than just one fight if we're going to do it, though. I might get just 2 or 3 that we can discuss. It's pretty hard for an hour and a half, whatever it might be, to talk about one fight, especially if I'm doing all the talking. But we might pick a division and pick out 2 or 3 that we can sort of discuss. And the talking point is another one that we've done that's had good numbers, but that's where we just pick a topic and we talk about that, of course. But yeah, the dream fights definitely have been a bit of a hit, and just other things as well. The one thing I want to do is the rankings, the pound for pound world and Aussie rankings. So we'll do that as well. But every Wednesday night there'll be something. Monday is obviously this. Wednesday will be that, and then Friday is the weekly roundup. And I've even contemplated maybe doing something on a Saturday morning, a bit like this as well, where we can maybe do a weekly roundup live so we can all discuss it whenever the fight's happening that weekend. But I like the fan interaction, Victor. I like the viewer interaction, I should say, because it's a lot more interesting than just getting on and doing a video. But if you've got any ideas what you think we should do, then hey, let's do it. I'm open. Got myself a new studio now, so I can be here all the time. All right. What's that? Ben Shalom shadow boxing in the crowd was quality. I didn't say that, and I'm glad I didn't. I'm surprised it wasn't Crawford versus Tszyu and Madrimov versus Ortiz, but all great fights. I actually think Madrimov is dangerous for Crawford. Look at his amateur accolades, beat numerous elite Cubans, etc. Yeah, that's not a bad point there, Batman. Look, I think if Tim had to beat beaten Fundora, that would have been the case. So I think we would have been seeing Crawford versus Tszyu. But I do get that, especially with now Fundora out of action and most likely fighting Spence next, I can see why they said, look, we probably can't put Tim in there straight away. Or maybe they could have, who knows. But I don't mind this whole mix. I don't mind it if that is the mix that ends up happening. But you get the feeling that the Fundora, Spence, and maybe Charlo threesome, if you want to call it that, will be on one side, and then you'll get these guys on the other side. And then hopefully they meet up down the track. Bill, my opinion is because lived 10 years longer, no one before or in future would have beaten. What's that? My opinion is Cuss. Lived 10 years longer, no one before or in the future would have beaten Tyson. Yeah, it's a good call there. Bill, unfortunately, he was pretty much near the end, wasn't he, when he actually got hold of Tyson? That's right. I thought that too. Eubank was with Sutherland. I thought that too. Who knows? I'm not a massive rat for Chris Eubank Jr. I just think he takes the piss half the time, so I don't take much notice. Tim/Virgil winner supposed to fight Madrimov Bud winner, but Jamel. That's right. Jamel pulling out his champion recess card to intercept likely chasing the big turkey dollars. Yeah, that's not a bad point as well. Yes, you're right, because I was thinking Charlo was on the Spence and Fundora side, but he's not, is he? He's actually in this half of the draw as the champion in recess. So, well, who knows? I think the thing, what will happen, of course, is Fundora will fight Spence. I think that seems to be the given. The Tim and Virgil winner would probably fight the Madrimov Bud winner, and then it's just a matter whether they say to Jamel, maybe what might happen here, Andy, is that whoever wins that fight gives up WBA belt and just keeps the WBO belt, and they fight for that. I don't know. What probably I will say is that I don't think it really matters what belt they've got and what ranking they are and who says what. At the end of the day, the sanctioning bodies will just do whatever the hell they want. Look at this one. They've made Tim and Virgil an interim title fight just out of nowhere, out of thin air. So, and they did it with the WBC on the other card, Tim's fight with Fundora as well. So, Inoue and Canelo, both round 11 knockouts. I like it, Damien. Obviously, if Tim beat Fundora, it would have obviously been him. Said it many times in that fight for Tim, yeah. Well, the thing is, even if that fight had ended after the second, third, fourth rounds, whatever, Batman, I don't think we would have seen a Tim Fundora rematch because Tim just would have moved on. It was a late replacement, and Tim would have said, well, sorry, that's just the luck of the draw, and back to the drawing board, man, because I'm going to go fight Crawford. All right, we've got about a few minutes to go there, guys. Victor, they are supposed to do Boots versus Crowley in July. That's right, and I think who else is thrown in the mix as well? Someone else is in there as well. In Philadelphia, so I'm excited. I live right down the street. Okay. If Boots wins, do you see him going for undisputed at 147 or moving up to 154? I might. Just depends, Victor, on the 147 division. Now, if Ryan goes up to 147, all of a sudden we start to have some okay fights there. I know there's some probably fringe type of guys and that in the mix, but none really that I would think that would get Boots excited. So why wouldn't he throw his hat in the ring as well and move to 154 and chase these guys? If he does, 154 is going to be if it's not already, the hottest division in boxing. So, yeah, but I did see that. I thought there was someone else mentioned as well, Victor. But yeah, that does make sense. But yeah, either way, again, add Boots to the mix, mate. I'm all for it. What's that? If Jamel intercepts Madrimov Bud winner, then hope Tim Virgil winner chases WBO, WBC, Fundora, or IBF Murder Zeliov. We'll see. Yes, we will, mate. So many connotations that could come into the mix. PBC to fall right after the Tank pay-per-view. Yeah. I wouldn't mind seeing that, Kyle. I think they're a bit of a stain on the sport at the moment, PBC. I didn't know Jamel can do that unless the cause is still champion in recess. Yeah, he's a champion in recess, Victor, so he can do what he wants, apparently. Just ask the WBA. Peter, the Saudis need to have Tszyu versus Charlo. Just to answer the question, was Charlo running? I don't think he was. Good question, Peter. I was just going to say he wouldn't be running. I think he was avoiding Tim. I don't think he wanted that fight. He obviously wanted the Canelo fight, and obviously got it. But yeah, I don't think he wanted Tim. Not at that stage when they were supposed to fight. I think after Tim got a few wins under his belt, got the vacant WBO belt. I think it all changed when he beat Mendoza. I thought all of a sudden that Charlo's mindset changed, and he thought, well, okay, now this guy is a name. He's a draw card and someone I want to fight. Before that, I just don't think he rated Tim, to be honest, Peter. I just don't think he saw him as one of the guys, and that's why he didn't want to defend his belts against him. And you can't blame guys like Charlo and whoever been up there for a while. They don't want to fight what they perceive as no names. And at that time, Tim was. What they didn't know after that, of course, he went on that tear where he had, 3 or 4 wins in a row and just ripped the guys to shreds and had all the boxing world talking about him. But when they were supposed to fight at the beginning of 2023, I just don't think Tim was front of mind of Charlo. All right, got about 5 minutes to go, guys. We'll have to call it a night. Boxing is like a never-ending soap opera. Well, it certainly is, mate. Tyson had banned sex and marijuana until after July 20. Jake's in the shit. Wow, jeez. Wow. These new undisputed belts, the Big Turkey have made are amazing WWE style. Is that right? The new undisputed belts. Haven't seen them, mate. I'll have to check them out. All right, a couple more comments and we'll call it a night there, fellas, or guys and girls. If Tim does beat Virgil, he'll get so much respect. Both guys, that fight is the best fight that can be made in boxing without a title, without doubt. Yes, I agree there, mate. Well, right up there with anything in terms of violence, just an unbelievable fight. Well, we'll see. It's also very possible the PBC puts Fundora in against the house fighter Spence and ditches WBO again. We'll see. Yes. And the Batman, big fan of both guys also. May the best man win, but let's go, Tim. Yep, we're a little bit biased here, mate. And last comment, I think Madrimov will beat old Bud too. Well, that's a hell of a comment to go out with there, Lizard. That's a look, it's possible. It's possible. Madrimov looked really good in his last fight. I'm still going to go for Bud. I think he's still got a bit left in the tank there, mate. So I'll go with Bud. All right. Thanks, everyone, for the comments tonight. I think we'll call it a night. We're a couple of minutes early, but make sure you look out for Wednesday night. There's nothing on Wednesday night, is there? So there will be a dream fight of some sort, guys. Let me have a think about it, and I'll put it up tomorrow. And then on Friday will be the watch. Not the watch along. Will be the weekly roundup. Sunday at lunchtime will be the Canelo Munguia watch along. So I hope to see you then. Follow us on Instagram for my daily insights. I'll put all bits and pieces up there. And also like, subscribe, all that sort of stuff. We're climbing and getting up there in numbers. It's great to have a lot of regular viewers now. It's very much appreciated. I love getting on here and talking with you guys. And it's a highlight of my week. So until next time, guys, have a great one. We'll see you then.